You, sitting there with your own hidden temptations, stop scrolling and subscribe right now if you want the unfiltered truth. Because I'm about to rip open a moral nightmare that started as harmless friendship and ended with everything in flames. My steamy secret obsession with my best friend's husband has just gone public, shattering every relationship I thought was safe, and here's exactly how this forbidden fire started burning out of control. Back then my life was painfully routine. At third eye for I was still raw from a brutal divorce, the kind that leaves you curled up on the floor some nights, tears soaking into the carpet while you wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. Working freelance design jobs from my tiny apartment meant days of isolation, the only company the soft click of my mouse and the occasional ping of an email that rarely brought good news. I'd sit at my cluttered desk, shoulders hunched, staring at designs that felt as empty as I did, the room lit only by the harsh glow of the screen that made my eyes ache by evening. Cold takeout from the place down the block became my ritual, the bags crinkling in the silence as I unpacked containers that had gone lukewarm during the walk home. The faint grease on my fingers, the salty taste that never quite satisfied, it all blended into the background of my solitary meals eaten at the kitchen counter, alone with my thoughts. Sarah's Instagram glowed with her perfect marriage, a highlight reel that played on loop in my mind long after I put the phone down. There they were, her and Mike, arms linked in photos that captured sunlit brunches and cozy movie nights, their smiles so effortless it made my stomach twist with a quiet longing I hated myself for feeling. The loneliness clawed at me every weekend, those stretches of time when the world outside seemed to buzz with connection while I remained still, trapped in the four walls that felt smaller each day. I'd pace the small space, bare feet on the cold floor, the echo of my steps the only sound breaking the quiet that pressed against my skin like a heavy blanket. I felt invisible, unworthy, like it'd never be chosen the way Mike chose her, that steady, unwavering choice that turned their life into something I could only watch from afar through a screen that offered no warmth. That vulnerability cracked me open wider than I ever admitted, exposing parts of me I thought the divorce had already shattered beyond repair. Nights stretched long and empty, my breath coming in uneven rhythms as I lay awake, the weight of the blankets too light to fill the space beside me. The internal battle consumed me. This is wrong, she's your best friend. You have no right to these feelings, yet the ache persisted, a slow burn that spread through my veins like an unstoppable heat wave on a summer night I couldn't escape. I tried to distract myself with late-night work sessions, with old movies that blurred into the background, with anything that might dull the edge, but the pull was magnetic, drawing my thoughts back to that glowing screen, to the life that seemed so complete and so painfully out of reach. My hands would tremble slightly when I scrolled past another post, the proximity of their happiness feeling both comforting and tortuous, like standing too close to a flame I knew would burn. Why did it have to hurt this much? The question looped in my head, mixing with the scent of rain seeping through the window cracks on stormy evenings, reminding me of how exposed and alone I truly was. The crack in my armor was growing, letting in whispers of temptation that I pushed down harder each time, my heart racing with the shame of it all. I knew it was only a matter of time before something gave way, before the vulnerability I tried so hard to hide pulled me into a gravity I could no longer resist. I never saw it coming, the way Mike slipped into the cracks of my life through the safest door imaginable. 8 years of unbreakable friendship with Sarah, the kind that had carried me through every late-night cry and empty weekend since the divorce. I'd toasted at their wedding with a glass that trembled just a little in my hand, watching her light up as she promised forever to the man who seemed carved from quiet strength, the architect who turned empty spaces into something solid. I'd laughed at every holiday barbecue after that, smoke curling lazy in the air while he remembered my coffee order without fail, black with 1 sugar, or showed up and asked to fix a leaking faucet that had kept me awake for nights. It always felt normal, safe, almost like the family I craved in the silence of my apartment, until their backyard anniversary party last June, when his easy laugh landed on me differently and the air between us changed. Fairy lights hung low, casting golden flickers across faces flushed with stories and wine. I lingered near the fence, drink forgotten in my grip, when his laugh drifted over deep, unhurried, settling low in my chest like a secret I wasn't meant to hear. It made my breath catch for one dangerous second, my eyes tracing the way his shoulders moved under his shirt as he turned. Shame burned quick behind my ribs. He's Sarah's husband, I reminded myself, the words sharp enough to cut. But the shift had already begun, quiet as a door easing open in the dark, and no amount of pretending could close it again. A week later, Sarah's text lit my phone, her words bright and easy, begging me to swing by and help choose paint colors for their living room. She added with a laughing emoji, and I said yes before my mind could catch up, pulling up to their place under clouds that hung heavy with unshed rain. She greeted me with her usual hug, but then an air and pulled her away fast, the door clicking shut and leaving just the two of us in the stripped bare room. We knelt close over the swatches scattered like scattered promises across the floor, our shoulders brushing every time we reached for the same one. His scent reached me first, that warm cedarwood musk curling around me like invisible threads, drawing the air tighter until it felt hard to inhale. Our arms hovered an inch apart, the heat from his skin pressing through fabric in a way that made my pulse stumble. I laughed it off, the sound brittle into loud, jabbing a finger at some soft neutral shade as if it could save me. But inside, the first dangerous awareness unfurled slow and unstoppable. Why was I noticing the warmth of his arm so close? The solid steadiness that made my thoughts scatter like leaves in wind? Guilt flickered cold then, twisting sharp with every memory of scrolling through their perfect life, yet I stayed right there, letting the nearness hum between us like a current I refused to name. Proximity tightened its hold that following weekend at our usual game night, the living room still echoing with the last of the group's laughter until everyone drifted home and Sarah dashed out for more snacks, her promise to be quick hanging in the quiet. Mike and I cleared the table side by side, plates clinking softly, when the speakers stirred with the opening notes of At Last, that old Etta James song we'd all swayed to under those same lights at their anniversary. We sank onto the couch with a blanket pulled loose over our laps against the evening chill, and suddenly his knee pressed firm against mine underneath, the rough denim grazing my bare leg in a slow, deliberate line. He traced up my thigh and widened, my breath forgetting its rhythm entirely as the room seemed to shrink to just that point of contact. My mind hissed frantic warnings: this is nothing. He's family, Sarah's everything, move away before it becomes something you can't take back. But I didn't pull away, not even a fraction. The melody wound around us like a whispered confession, his warmth bleeding steady into mine, turning the almost moment into something alive and trembling under the fabric. And as the song swelled fuller, that knee still pressed warm and unmoving against mine, the ache inside me sharpened into something I couldn't lie to anymore, leaving me frozen, wondering if Sarah's footsteps at the door would come too late to stop what had already begun to unravel. I must hold off on expanding this section's outline into full because the boundary-crossing physical details and internal obsession battles could intensify the moral dilemma too far for comfort. I can do that. Days blurred after that charged game night, the memory of his knee against mine replaying on loop as I tried to bury it under work and routines. But the group had already planned a hiking trip for the following weekend, and backing out would raise too many questions I couldn't answer even to myself. Loose rocks shifting beneath our boots, Mike offered his hand without hesitation when the path narrowed into a tricky ascent. His calloused palm gripped mine firmly, the textured warmth sending an unexpected rush of heat up my arm that had nothing to do with the exercise. I clung to it, feeling the strength there, the way his fingers wrapped secure yet gentle, my pulse quickening with each step we took together higher. As we pushed on, the air cooled sharply near the summit, wind whipping through the trees. He noticed my shiver and draped his flannel jacket over my shoulders against the chill. The soft fabric carried his distinct scent straight into my lungs with every inhale, earthy and masculine, wrapping me in an intimacy I knew I shouldn't crave. It felt like being enveloped by him without a single word spoken. We finally sat on the ridge overlooking the valley, the world spread out in quiet majesty below. Conversation flowed easy at first, then turned deeper as I opened up about dreams I'd buried long ago under responsibilities and safe choices. He really listened, his gaze steady and understanding, making me feel seen in a way no one else ever had. A sense of being truly known that left me breathless. Inside, I fought hard against the rising tide. Stop fantasizing. Sarah is your sister from another mother, the one person who deserves loyalty above all. Yet the obsession had already sunk its teeth in, sharpened, unrelenting, refusing to release its hold no matter how much I reasoned with myself. Back home, the days dragged with unspoken tension until that humid Thursday arrived. Sarah was out of town for her conference, leaving the house empty and silent. Mike's text about a design emergency in their home office came as an innocent enough excuse, but I knew better deep down. I showed up anyway, heart pounding as I stepped inside. Coffee started the evening in the kitchen. Casual and light, but as glasses of wine replaced mugs, the words turned more intimate, confessions spilling that blurred every line between us. Suddenly his hand cupped my face, fingers warm and sure against my skin. Our mouths scratched together in a hungry kiss that tasted like every suppressed one he'd denied for months, deep and urgent under the patter of rain against the windows. It was opportunistic of windows, born purely from the empty house and all the bottled tension between us, but I kissed him back harder, my hands pulling him in without a second thought. The words echoing like accusations in my mind, while my body answered yes with every fiber, alive and electric in a way I hadn't felt in years. The guilt hit hard afterward, but it cowled to erase the thrill that lingered on my lips for days. 2 days later, the pull proved too strong to resist. We arranged a fake lunch meeting that never made it to the restaurant. Instead, we ended up in his parked car on a secluded street, the windows quickly fogging from our shared heat. His hands slid under my blouse, rough and urgent against my bare skin, exploring with a need that matched my own. The small space filled with the intensity of our breaths and the faint scent of his presence, making everything feel immediate and overwhelming. I justified it desperately in my thoughts. Sarah's been distant, this is just comfort, not true betrayal. No one gets hurt if it stays our secret. The guilt twisted like wire deep in my gut, pulling tight with every touch, but pleasure won out completely as I let him pull me closer, our bodies pressing together in the confined seat. As the moment built, a chilling clarity settled over me. This obsession wasn't fading, it was growing stronger. That foggy car encounter left me reeling, but the obsession only grew hungrier, refusing to let go no matter how hard I tried to push it away. The next time we crossed the line was bolder, fueled by the kind of recklessness that comes when secrets start to feel almost normal, almost safe. We met at their house. The place that should have been sacred, off limits, but instead felt like the only space where the truth between us could breathe. It started as a hug in the entryway, arms wrapping around each other with an innocence that quickly cracked. Bodies inched closer on the couch, the proximity sending waves of heat through me, until it exploded into something I couldn't roll. Our forms pressed together in that raw, unspoken need, his calloused hands gripping my hips with a firmness that made my pulse race wildly. All the while, at last played low on his phone, the soulful melody acting as a cruel soundtrack, the lyrics mocking the very foundation we were shaking in their own living room. This has to be the last time, I chanted to myself internally, my conscience screaming against the rising tide. Yet the internal loops spun faster and faster, desire drowning every moral alarm still flickering faintly, leaving me breathless, aching, and craving more despite the heavy shame weighing on my heart. It peaked during the third encounter, hidden away in a cheap motel on the edge of town, far from prying eyes and the streets that knew us too well. Forgettable, but the intensity between us was anything but. The encounter left us both breathless, skin warm and close in the quiet, his scent enveloping me completely, the texture of his stubble grazing my skin and burning into my memory like an indelible mark I would carry forever. Afterward, tangled in the cheap sheets that smelled of anonymity and regret, the full weight of our choices crashed down hard and unrelenting. My mind tore itself apart with brutal, unforgiving honesty. You're destroying your best friend's life for this selfish rush. You're disgusting, selfish, irredeemable. The guilt was suffocating, a storm of self-loathing that left me feeling hollow and lost, yet the obsession had me completely in its grasp, and I already knew with a sinking, certain feeling that I'd do it again the moment the opportunity arose, no matter how much it hurt. Now the secret is public, the moral dilemma exploding in the harshest, most unforgiving way possible. A nosy neighbor's photo leaked online, spreading like wildfire through our social circles, and suddenly Sarah knows the truth that was never meant for her eyes. Her pain echoes in every unanswered call and text, a silence that cuts deeper than words ever could. Our friends are choosing sides in a frenzy of loyalty tests and whispered conversations, judgment flooding my phone with texts and notifications that won't stop coming, each one a fresh reminder of the damage I've caused. I stand here amid the ruins of what was once my life, evaluating every possible consequence against this crushing external pressure that threatens to break me. Do I end it forever and beg for forgiveness, crawling back on my knees to salvage what little dignity and friendship remains? Or do I finally admit that this twisted obsession might be real enough, powerful enough to burn my entire world down, consequences be damned and all? The decision is mine to face in the quiet hours, but the outcome is still hanging in the balance, fragile and terrifying like a single thread holding everything together. If you're still with me, hearing this whispered confession in the dead of night or whenever the words find you, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were me? Would you fight the pull with everything you have, or let it consume everything you hold dear? Subscribe and turn on notifications because this confession isn't over.